Welcome to Discover Lafayette, a show dedicated to the people and rich culture of Lafayette, the gateway to South Louisiana and the region we know as Acadiana. I'm Jan Swift. In 2008, AMI Kids Acadiana was established and has been dedicating itself to helping kids discover the potential that they have within and transforming their lives. Located in Branch, Louisiana, right outside of Lafayette Parish, AMI Kids Acadiana empowers each student through care and guidance to reach their own potential, and as a result helps them break the cycle of failure and poverty. Partnering with the Louisiana Office of Juvenile Justice, AMI Kids Acadiana is a residential program for young men ages 12 to 18, and so far they've helped over 600 young men since their founding. I'd like to welcome to today's show Isaac Williams, who serves as Executive Director of AMI Kids Acadiana. Isaac, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it was my pleasure to meet Isaac recently, along with Maggie Gladden and others who run AMI Kids Acadiana in Branch. And I couldn't think of a better show, Isaac, to end 2017 with than to share the uplifting story of what you do with AMI Kids. So if we could, I'd like to start first with your background and how you ended up with AMI Kids.
Well, I've been with AMI Kids for approximately 24 years now. As a young kid, actually out of the military, you know, I went for an interview, and on that interview, I saw a lot of young men that reminded me of me, you know, full of energy, but, you know, made poor decisions. And it was at that time that I realized, you know, all of my dreams of being a professional football player or other things, I realized that actually my purpose was to work with kids and help them turn their lives around, just as someone that helped me.
Right.
So background is in business, but again, I've only had two jobs. One is the U.S. military, and the other one is working with kids with AMI Kids. So I'm excited about that. I just have a passion for seeing kids transform their lives, and a lot of our kids come from situations that limit them. And I've made it my mission to ensure that they understand that your current circumstance and situation does not dictate what your future could be.
Right.
So I'm dedicated to helping trouble you.
Right. Do you think, you were saying that you grew up, you know, probably wanting to be an athlete, a professional athlete. Is that, we hear about that, and I hate to stereotype, but is that what happens? A lot of young men maybe don't take their schooling seriously or the choices they make because they think they'll have other options?
Absolutely. In a lot of cases, unfortunately, you know, it's just all, at least guys like me, really felt that we could possibly do. And that holds true to today. Most kids, if you ask them, you know, hey, what are you going to be? They're not going to tell you they want to be a scientist or a lawyer or something. They want to be a professional basketball player or a football player. And I think that's common.
Right.
But as you get older, you understand that's a small percentage of folks are able to do that. You need to really be focused on your education and building yourself.
Right. When I was looking on the website of AMI Kids, it's international, I guess, and that stands for Associated Marine International from way back. Would you tell the story of the original founding of AMI? I know that it started in Florida almost 50 years ago, if you can maybe give that background.
Yeah, correct. In 1969, we were actually founded by a judge, actually, Frank Orlando. A lot of kids continued to come in his courtroom, and they was getting in trouble for the same things over and over again. So what he did is he said, I tell you what, I'm going to put you guys to work, put you in an environment where you can work with your hands and do some things. And so he wound up allowing them to work with some gentlemen he knew, and from that we formed AMI Kids.
Right.
You know, at that time it was Associated Marine Institutes, but from that he saw kids get better with self-esteem and confidence because they were learning things and they were occupied, you know. So they learned that they did have purpose and they could accomplish things as well, so we saw the trouble go down.
One thing I was thinking from that story is not only were they finding purpose through work, but they had mentors that really mirrored responsible behavior and how life could be. And I know that's what you work on in Branch here in Louisiana.
Yeah, that's very important. Kids at the ages that we work with, between 12 and 18, they don't necessarily need additional friends. They need role models, they need authoritative figures, and they need someone to tell them, say, hey, you're wrong. When you're wrong, you're wrong. When you're right, you're right. And I'm telling you you're wrong because I care about you and I want to see you do better. This is how you do better. Right. As a matter of fact, I'm going to role model to you what you should do in these situations. So role modeling is a big part, and having a mentor, somebody who's gone through those experiences can tell you that. I tell the kids all the time, experience is so valuable. If you can learn from other people's experience without it costing you anything, you need to take advantage of that. And so that's a big component.
Right. And one thing for many of us, if we fail, especially as young people, we have a safety net. You know, if we're lucky enough to have an intact family where a mother, father, or both can tell us, you know, don't do that again. We told you not to do it, we meant it, you're punished. But I know a lot of these young men probably don't have that stability that they might need in their lives. Is that what you've seen in your experience?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true. Most of our kids, you know, all kids need direction and discipline and leadership in their lives, but unfortunately, some of our kids avoid that, and when they're getting leadership, they're getting it from the wrong people. And because maybe mom or dad is not in the home to be structured, they rely on outside sources to give them direction. In most cases, that's not proper direction. So they learn a lot of bad things and poor decision making, poor judgment, which leads them to come to us. So what we try and do is help them be critical thinkers, understand what lifelong learning is really about, help them make better choices, and we do that through some of our life skills curriculums that we have there in our education program.
Right. So how, if you can talk about the process, I know in the introduction I mentioned that you partner with the Louisiana Office of Juvenile Justice. What is the path that typically would lead one of the young men to AMI Kids? What is transpiring, and what's the hoped for outcome once they're there?
Well, unfortunately, one of the bad things about us is the only way you can come to us if you've been adjudicated delinquent and you've gotten in trouble and you're on probation. They do have a form of FINS, which is Family in Needs of Services, but that's prior to getting to us.
Okay.
So usually, OJJ, Office of Juvenile Justice, exhausts all efforts at trying to work with the kid in the home, trying to keep him in school, maybe finding different placements, maybe trackers or some kind of therapeutic counseling in the homes, probably family treatment within the homes. But at some point, when the kid is truant and won't go to school and continues to break the law and violate probation, then they recommend them to us, which we're a residential facility to where the kids stay to us. And when they come to us, they have to complete our program, which generally takes 6 to 9 months. Could take sometimes longer than that, could take a little bit less.
Yeah. I was really, I smile when I think about how nice your facility is, and there are 36 young men, as I mentioned, in 3 dorm-like rooms with beds that they mirror the sports teams, LSU, UL, Lafayette, and then the Saints, of course. And the young men it's like military looking with their beds made and everything ship shape. But I was really impressed with that because it looked like it's a real, I guess they have to be a team. They have to learn to get along and to listen to authority. And some of the young men we met, it seemed like they were older teens, like some were up to the age of 17. And we're really looking forward to going to college and having a successful academic career. So while they're there, do they take classes there in school while they're in AMI Kids?
Yeah. One of the things we take pride in is we have what we call a personal growth model. And what that does is we target kids in 3 areas: treatment, education, and behavior modification. We assess them in all 3 areas, and where they're deficient, we develop a plan with their input, the parents' input, and the probation officer's input, so everybody can have buy-in, and kids have to reach those goals and show growth in all 3 areas. From an education standpoint, when they come in, we'll assess them, we give them a pre-test, and we test them every month to track their growth as well. Depending on your age and what your track is, you can earn your GED with us. We have an agreement with SLCC, and they come out and provide GED services to our kids. We also have an agreement with Acadia Parish to where they provide IEP services, special ed services, and they also assist us with making sure that our kids have standardized testing. So we don't warehouse kids. If a kid comes to us, he can be promoted to the next grade or he can fail. So they really have to take education serious, and we stress that.
Right. Well, I know they have early bedtime and they have set hours, so they don't have many excuses for not studying. And also, I want to mention how I learned about you more particularly. Tony Gordon's a local businessman in Lafayette, very well respected. He had opened up his home for an event, and I had the opportunity to meet your local board, who were a group of diverse business people. And what really touched me was not only hearing about Mimi Methvin, a local lawyer who had been a U.S. magistrate here, going to teach yoga, but there were some doctors, and one doctor was almost in tears of joy, talking about the love he experienced coming out to your place in Branch and working with the young men on their gardening.
Absolutely.
It was really touching,
Absolutely.
Isaac, and it made me want to go out and see what you were doing.
Yes.
Can you talk about what local people can do to get involved? Like what do you need from the community?
The event you mentioned was the Social for Social Change, and we have that like once a quarter, and that's when we try and just get the community involved locally in Lafayette to have a better understanding of what we do, because we're doing some remarkable work. Our kids are really working hard to change their lives. The biggest thing is I would encourage folks to come out and tour our facility. You see the impact it had on you.
It was awesome.
A big thing with us is family. I stress to the kids, family. Although they don't want to be there, you know, we're all we have. That's what I said. We all we got.
We're stuck.
We got to work together. Trust me, I would like nothing more than you be able to go home as fast as possible. But there are certain things we have to do together and get accomplished. So I would just say, come out and see our program. Give me a call or you know, send me an email on the website saying you want to visit. We'll set that up and come out and meet our remarkable kids. Certainly, they've made some mistakes, you know, and we have some bad days. But overall, I think anybody would be impressed with the fact that these kids have accepted responsibility and they're trying to move on to better things.
Right. And I know from what I was hearing from the young men, they were learning life skills that we all need, how to shake hands, how to look someone in the eye. And that's hard at any age. I mean, if you're shy and you feel that you've made mistakes, I mean, that could be anybody. But I want to commend you on the courteous behavior, and it was really a good vibe I felt when I was there. And I want to encourage people to go visit. So what's on the horizon? I mean, here we are, it's Christmas time, 2017. Are you full? Are there 36 young men in the facility?
Yeah, we have a great relationship with our local Office of Juvenile Justice, and we always stay full. Unfortunately, it's a waiting list, but we work closely together to ensure we get the right kid to our program, because if you get a few wrong kids, you know, it can upset, you know, the chemistry, and our kids are important, so we want to make sure we get the right kids. So we're in pretty good shape with enrollment.
This is the only residential facility of its type in the state, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
But AMI Kids has got other locations around Louisiana, if you would
Yeah,
talk about
we
that.
actually have 3 facilities in Louisiana. We have AMI Kids Cattle, which is pretty much a charter school. The kids don't stay there all night. That's not a residential. And then we have AMI Kids Baton Rouge, which is similar to a charter school, but it has a relationship with the school board. We're the only residential facility AMI Kids have in Louisiana, but we're a national organization. We have about 44 programs in 9 states.
Right. Yeah. So people come to Branch from all over the state. The young men. Do they come from outside of Louisiana, or is it only Louisiana residents?
No, we only have Louisiana residents. We have some kids from Lafayette, New Iberia,
Houma,
New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Shreveport. They come from all over.
Right. So what do they do at the charter school? Is that a large facility, or is it?
It is a large facility. In Caddo, I think they have about 150 to 180 kids, and they're just education. Primarily, you know, and kids come through the school board, which is different from us. Our kids are adjudicated, and they come to us from the Office of Juvenile Justice.
So girls are included then in the 2 charter schools?
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
What have you learned? I know you said that you felt that your life purpose was giving back and working with these young men. What have you learned, and maybe what advice would you share with families, you know, that may be experiencing trouble and aren't sure what to do at home? Do you have advice from your experiences with the?
I do. I think you got to be patient. You know, certainly you don't want to tell people they don't understand them kids. I'm not insinuating that, but it's so many dangers and so many more challenges for kids today than it was when I was growing up. We've got to have a better understanding of what our kids are facing, and we can't leave it to others to give advice to our kids or talk about different scenarios and situations. We've got to talk about that, and we've got to show them why it's the right thing to do, following rules and you know, accepting authority in the long term, how that pays off for you, as opposed to want to fit in with others and do things that you wouldn't ordinarily do. And the other thing is, make sure we praise our kids and tell them that it's okay to be you. You know, doing the right thing and holding true to your morals and values that you've learned. There's nothing wrong with that. So.
Are the boys learning that, like in your facility?
Absolutely.
Do they learn that they can be kind of,
Absolutely.
you know, not kooky, but they can let their true personality show and be silly?
We encourage that. You've got to be able to laugh at yourself. You got to be able to have fun. You got to just have boundaries and know when to do all that stuff, and have an understanding that all the time is not playtime. You know, we have to have balance.
Right.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of alums from AMI Kids, not just in Louisiana, but throughout the country. I guess throughout the South. I know that the 45 locations are centered in the South. Is that right? South and Southeast?
Southeast, pretty much. We have a school in New Mexico and one in Texas, but the rest of them primarily are in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Louisiana.
Yeah, I think the website said there were maybe 125,000 alums. Does that sound right? Or maybe they've helped 125,000 young people.
We've served that amount of kids, but we have an alumni association as well, to where kids come back, successful kids come back, and they come to the board meetings, the national board meetings, and they speak. We've actually hired some of our kids. Some of our kids are actually board members now. So you can imagine that's really powerful for those kids to come in and say, hey, I've been sitting in those same chairs you are. I'm telling you, this is what I did to overcome that. So,
right. I can't think of a more powerful mentor than somebody that's walked that walk, you know. And I know right now in Louisiana we're going through a criminal justice reform, and some people are worried in the different communities about people being released. It's only going to be a few months early in most cases. But I don't know that they have a mentorship program in place for, you know, people that have been incarcerated trying to get back in the community. But with AMI Kids, you have that. You have your network of alums. So is that something that people, do they rely on that? Is that active at this point?
Yes, absolutely. What we do is we encourage our kids when they leave our facility. We also track our kids and to make sure we keep in contact with them to see if they need any assistance in school or jobs, that type of deal. But we encourage them. We try and assign alumni to spend time with them and just try to provide direction to them. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So let's get back to the community and your local board. Looking back at who was involved, I saw that you had a diverse group of bankers, doctors, lawyers, judges, a really successful group of people. Is that something, if people want to get more information, what is the best way for them to find out who's engaged and when they can maybe go to a quarterly meeting? Where would you send people?
Well, they can go to our website, you know, www.amikidzacadiana.org, and they can get all the information they need, or they can just call me, you know, 337-384-2123.
Okay.
And I'll provide all the information they need.
Okay, and I'll post that too also on my podcast and the TV show information. Because one thing I noticed, you are getting funding. I guess you get some funding through government means, but you really depend on private donations to make this go.
Fundraising. You know, our mission to our kids is to try and do all we can to help them be successful. And we certainly get a per diem and we get assistance, but that's not enough for what our kids need.
Right.
So yeah, we're always open to that. But not only that, if folks want to get involved and give their time and come out and be a guest speaker and try and help kids, it's not just about a donation from a financial standpoint, but if you can come out and give your time, I'll appreciate that as well. The kids will be grateful.
What type of speakers do the kids like? Like, what do they like to hear about?
Well, you know, they always like to hear the sports guys come and talk. But, you know, doctors, lawyers, everybody who comes out, our kids are respectful and they listen to them.
Yeah, they really were
And they'll be
respectful.
impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cute watching. What do you call the chart when, I guess you rank behavior based on who does what they're supposed to do and who does it the most times, and so they earn points
Cap
every
chart.
week.
That's a cap chart.
Cap chart?
Yes.
And so that gives them the ability to go first in line when it's
Correct.
time for food.
Correct. That's right. First in line for that, and when it's rewards like off-campus trips, maybe going to the movies or a game, you know, they get first choice at that. Yeah.
Do they get to take outings
Yes, we
often?
do.
Or?
We do. We're getting ready to do a trip to Florida in January.
Oh my goodness.
So that's going to be kids that, and that's not funded either. That's why we rely on
Private.
people to help us. So you know that's going to be on the kids that's had the best behaviors and been most consistent.
Oh man.
And for a lot of those kids, it'll be the first time they've ever gone out of the state. You know, so they deserve that. So that's why we do that stuff. And they'll go down on a team, and it's what we call our experiential challenge events, to where they'll go and compete against up to 44 other schools in the areas of academic quiz bowls, spelling bees, speech contests. We'll have some track and field events, some volleyball and different stuff like that. But you know, I love that because that teaches the kids that, hey, you can have things that's bigger than yourself. You ought to be able to fit in on a team. So,
Are you going to AMI's headquarters?
yeah, well,
Florida?
actually, it's going to be at a site that they designate. It won't be at the headquarters, our home office, but it will be in Florida.
That's one of my favorite parts of the country. I know they're based down in the Tampa
Yes,
area,
that's
and it
correct.
started in Boca Raton,
Yeah.
where the judge had his friend that
that's
had
correct.
the marine business.
That's
so
correct.
I just can't get over the background, Isaac, and to see what's happened through all these years. So you think you're going to be dedicating your life to this? Have you looked ahead?
Yeah, this is it for me. There's nothing else I would rather do. I think certainly you know, there's a lot of important professions. You know, you got judges, lawyers, and then rocket scientists. But I think it's really important when you can make a difference and a change in a kid's life. So I wouldn't want to do anything else. I think my profession is pretty special.
I think it's very special.
Yeah.
Have we not covered anything that you'd like to bring out? Is there any question I should have asked you, or anything that you'd like to tell people?
Well, I just want to thank you though, for giving us time to come out and share the message
pleasure.
about our program. And I want to invite anybody that might have an interest in helping kids to come out and spend some time with our kids at our facility. I think they'll be impressed, and they'll find it meaningful to try and help a young man turn his life around. So I just like to invite them out.
I want to encourage that too. I just can't explain enough how life-changing it can be to see these young lives transformed. And I'd also like to put in a plug and thank Maggie Gladden, who's here, who works with you with AMI Kids on the regional basis of trying to raise funds. And we want to send you all to amikids.org, and you can have AMI Kids Acadiana to find the local branch, who's in Branch, Louisiana, but to find your local unit and find out more about what you can do. So,
Absolutely.
Isaac Williams, I'd like to thank you so much for
Thank you
all
so
you
much.
do and for taking time during the holiday to drive over here. And I'd like to thank Delta Media also. We're filming today in Karen Crow at the offices of Delta Media. And also for Discover Lafayette, I want to send you please to our website, discoverlafayette.net, where you can watch this show. Listen to this will also be a podcast, Isaac, and we have about 20 other shows so far. We have quite a treasure trove of local business leaders, artists, chefs. We've got it all, and I want to encourage you to please watch us on discoverlafayette.net, or you can register this under iTunes. You can go and subscribe to this podcast. Thank you. On behalf of Discover Lafayette, I'm Jan Swift.